Well, hello there, and welcome to the kitchen of the Dollhouse. And what are we cooking up today, my friends? Well, another reading and quasi comprehensive commentary on The Secret Language of Birthdays by Gary Goldschneider and Joost Elfers for January 27th, the day of precocity. That's right. I think that's how you pronounce it. In any event, here at the top of the page is a visual representation of the day of precocity. I don't think that's how it's said. But here we go. Moving on. What do we got here? It's a picture of, boom, two crossed French horns. One with a goose head. He looks a little bit aggressive there coming out of there. And you probably would be coming out of a French horn, and a lotus by my dead reckoning there. That's right. A little bit of a nautical theme carrying over from yesterday, dead reckoning wise. Hey, does that speak to the day of precocity? If we're assuming that's how it's said? Well, I don't know if it does. Perhaps. I don't know. But not altogether all too important. It's a pretty eclectic visual representational image by any stretch. That having been said, not altogether all too important, the visual representational image, not when it's January 27th and it's somebody's birthday. That's right. So what's important around here in that case is wishing you a happy birthday. That's right. So happy birthday. But if this video finds you late, I don't know, days, weeks, months, whatever it may be, well, I hope you had a happy birthday in that case. But that being said, a lot of folks like to drop by randomly, or more importantly, to celebrate the birthday. And so if you're here to celebrate the January 27th birthday, I just want to say hello, welcome, and I hope you enjoy yourself. Now, before I dive in directly, something I'd like to take a moment to do, and that is the other reason folks drop by for their daily numbers. That's right, we like to roll some dice around these here parts. This is the Diecast, a birthday broadcast, so we gotta live up to the namesake. But that being said, I do so more importantly for synchronicity's sake. And here I rolled a 3 and a 6 for a 9. There's your daily numbers. Now, for those of you who haven't been here before, why am I rolling daily numbers? Well, my friends, as I've heard it told, the universe will put things down in our path to help us realize our goals and, I don't know, kind of manifest our aspirations, if you like. But a lot of times we got the blinders on as we're going through this world, you know, getting on with the errands or just the commute to work. And so we're not necessarily picking up on the things that the universe is putting in our path. Yeah, we may see them, but hey, we're just not giving them any kind of concern or their due time in the spotlight, if you like. So this is an exercise in getting off those blinders and taking things in. That's right. Hopefully identifying the things the universe is putting in front of us. And how do we do that? How do we recognize such signs? Well, let's drill down on one that we can't help but notice. Hopefully. That's right, your daily numbers. So you don't have to go with the numbers that I rolled for you. The intention is there. But it's probably advisable you dust off that old Yahtzee set in the closet and rate it for a couple of dice so that you can ascribe directional values to number sets as well as time limits with which to go in those directions. And in this case, you kind of let the universe take the wheel in this particular instance. You get out in the world, maybe pick a spot near and dear to your heart, say the town square, as I often like to use as an example, and or someplace maybe you haven't been before, and then you set off. All right, go in that direction for that time limit that you rolled, but you got to stay eagle-eyed for things. Get those blinders off. You never know, the day might start to take on a little bit of a theme. That's right. To say, hey, maybe certain things, just random things, start popping up. What kind of random things? I don't know. Let's use the visual representational image as a example here. We got the aggressive goose, we got the lotus blossom, and the French horns. Hey, you know what? Those are 3 different things that are pretty random, and they might just start creeping up. You know, you might, oh, I see geese all the time. Yeah, well, they might start creeping up in really weird ways. To say, not even in a tangible, realistic, well, maybe tangible, but it might not be a real goose that crosses your path. It might take the form of a bus bench advertisement, or say an advertisement on the side of a bus, billboard, whatever the case. Maybe somebody's carrying a fake goose under their arm, home for the Christmas dinner there that they're late for. That's right. So like I said, the day might start taking on a little bit of a theme in that way. So you got to keep your eyes open. But theme aside, let's say you get to the end of this first directional value time limit there, and you haven't seen anything. It's just the everyday goings on around you, right? Well, stop, compose yourself. Like I said, look around. Hey, maybe you just so happen to notice you're on old 9th Boulevard there. I don't know if 9s can be boulevards or numbers, rather, but 9th Avenue, say. I would take that as a sign you're on the right path. All right, roll yourself another time value, directional value. Set on out. Maybe this time you find yourself, boom, right on a street corner, and the old number, what is this, 36 bus pulls up. Hey, now, hey, that's a sign, I would say. Maybe you just so happen to have a perfect change in your pocket to ride. That's right. And on a day, in a day and age when people rarely carry coins, I would say that's a little synchronous, right? Coincidence, you say? Yeah, perhaps. I like to think they're kind of interchangeable. So let's stack up some coincidences. Get on the bus to ride, and maybe, what's this? Somebody's carrying a goose. Hey, you know what? Or a French horn. Let's change the example. Hey, there we go. Some French horns are coming into the equation. Another sign you're on the right path, all right? It doesn't have to mean anything more than that. And you're like, oh, another coinky dink. There you go. Boom. A little more magic into your day. So you ride in the bus. Maybe roll the time value to find out how long to ride for. And maybe you roll yourself, I don't know, what's this? A 4 and a 1 for a 5. Hey, boom, you look up. Maybe somebody's wearing a sports jersey with the number 5 on it. You know what? Boom. Maybe that is your white rabbit to chase. That's right. So maybe wait on the bus until they depart. Get off the bus. Roll yourself a time value to find out how long to follow your white rabbit for. That's right. Now, give them some time, a little bit of a buffer there. You don't want to come off kind of creeping like. But hey, you know what? Even if they do find you kind of stalking them, well, hey, you shouldn't have been stalking them. They confront you or whatever. What are you doing, pal? What are you following me for? Hey, you know what? Just be open, transparent about what you're up to. Show them your dice. Show them your video, or this video here, rather. Well, I guess it's yours, right? And you know what? They might be like, that's just insane. Yeah, I know. Who's rolling dice and following what the universe lays out for them? They go, yeah, that's pretty crazy too, but I meant it's my birthday too. I know, I like to often use this particular example because it just seems so, I don't know, out of the realm of possibility. But it's not, all right? And if you happen to meet somebody on your birthday, maybe that was the whole purpose, the universe driving you towards somebody who shares something with you, all right? And maybe they're just apt to abandon where they were going and join you on this journey. And you can tell them all the coincidences that you already saw. They can help you find and stack up even more. Because as I've heard it told, the universe, well, if you get more people focusing on the same thing, you're apt to manifest greater and more plentiful results. All right, I think you get the idea of synchronicity there. So get on out there, see, taste, touch, smell, intuit a little magic. You understand why I brought it up. So let's dive in with the birthday read. Your month is January. Your day, the 27th. Your sign is 6 to 8 degrees Aquarius. And your period is Aquarius 1 specifically. And your quality element is a fixed air. All right, January 27th, the day of precocity. Okay, one of the most prominent themes in the lives of January 27 people is that of early development, as those born on this day often manifest their talents at an early age. And not infrequently, their professions are related to the same theme and may deal direct or indirectly with young people. January 27 people are usually highly concerned with what is new and keeping themselves young. One associated problem often encountered by January 27 people is that of a premature development. Now, obviously, the greatest danger in childhood is that they may be exploited or pushed too fast. And not infrequently, their projects develop too quickly, and their ideas manifest too suddenly. Their financial affairs expand too precipitously. And because those born on this day are psychologically predisposed to speedy decisions, it may be very difficult for them to maintain control over their affairs. In their interpersonal relationships as well, they may both push friendships and romantic attachments too quickly, thus creating an uncomfortable, albeit exciting situation for the other person involved. Sweeping others off their feet with a kind of tumultuous energy is typical of January 27 people. Above all, those born on this day must learn patience and discrimination. Not all of their work is of the highest caliber, though they expect it to be and can firmly believe that it is. Unless January 27 people pay careful attention to the opinions and reactions of others, they may suffer disappointment and rejection. In addition, they must learn not only what they can do, but also who they are. Cultivating a realistic outlook toward life is essential for them if they wish to be successful in the world. And for January 27th people, keeping their childlike nature satisfied can be a full-time job itself. And they may be accused more than once in their lives of being overenthusiastic, juvenile, childish, or even infantile in their emotional attitudes. All maturing experiences have children themselves. Let's see, all maturing experiences, let's try this once more. Having children themselves, conjugal sex, sharing household duties and responsibilities, holding a job are both a challenge and an opportunity for growth. And if those born on this day get stuck in any of the developmental stages of childhood, they run the risk of being an eternal Peter Pan, i.e., never growing up. As charming a role as this may seem, it can wear thin when they find themselves in middle age. And thus it is not uncommon for January 27 people to undergo maturity crises at the age of 28, 36, or 42, when they are faced by stark choices as to whether they wish to fully accept adult responsibilities or not. Such decisions can only be made by the January 27 person, him or herself, and cannot be forced. And those born on this day must come to realize that retaining youth need not conflict with maturing and strengthening of character. And working with children and young people, starting new projects and studying the process of learning and creativity can all help to sustain their youthful needs in a healthy fashion. Well, all right, quite the, focused birthday breakdown today, to be sure. I thought we were kind of deviating from a theme that started off in Capricorn, where we hyper drill down on a particular theme and then expand out from that. Usually the book would more focus on a well-rounded kind of relation of the day. To say, like, what you're like as friends, lovers, parents, children. They focused on that a little bit, but they really drilled down from the theme and went out. So I don't know. Maybe we're still in this theme that started off with Capricorn. Who's to say? But that having been said, I like to provide a little bit of commentary, as I mentioned at the top, on what we've gone over, things I may have found of interest, and what might connect to previous days or the period in general. So let's dive into it, see what we see. The day of precocity. Early development and is a predominant theme here, and you may be positioned to in turn focus on the very subject directly or indirectly later in your life and be unusually concerned with what is new and maintaining your youth. And to that end, the reading claims problems with premature development may be something that you encounter in life, which is interesting, I would say. It seems to be the pitfall of being so talented. And your caretakers identify it, and in no time they're trying to cultivate it for you and expand upon it, maybe take advantage of it for you, either for what they think is your own good, or perhaps in hopes that you can have a life that maybe they didn't get a chance to, or maybe to help themselves. So I don't think they mentioned that, but I could see it being part of it, all right? Hopefully it's not, but there you go. And if in extreme cases that is the case, it's unfortunate, but it may actually cast a perpetual dark pale on your childhood there, even when it is of a noble intention. Like your parents are just, they want the best for you, but they're pushing you too hard to develop, giving you too much responsibility too early, just putting too big of a weight on a child's shoulders there. And if you've experienced that, you know exactly what it's about. I don't, but I'm imagining it for you. So moving on. The other thing too is I'd say maybe it's just not something that you like to do, even if you're talented at it. So that's an interesting facet too. That's a whole video to examine, that kind of thing. That having been said, the reading claims that this moving too quickly dynamic can extend to any given area of your life, it would seem. And this expeditious expansion can become more than you can or want to handle, leading to a penchant to make quick decisions, right? Ostensibly to keep up with life. And even when things are otherwise at a normal pace. So I was kind of thinking, hey, maybe you're setting this kind of quick pace for yourself when you don't necessarily need to. It's just been ingrained in you that, hey, you got to get after it, all right? There's no time to be a wasting. You're 5 years old, you got to get after that piano, right? You gotta become a virtuoso because you showed that you knew chopsticks or whatever it may be. And so, boom, right out the gate, somebody's pushing you into this fast-paced life there, and maybe it continues on with you. You're basically in what sounds like a runaway state, chasing after an engine seizure there, to mix metaphors for you. All this to say, I agree with learning patience and discrimination that would serve you. To say, picking the things that are of the utmost importance and kind of letting the other things fade into the background or come back up when you've got some free time, all right? I will say I was a bit taken back that the more adult aspects of your life may be a challenge. See, I was fully prepared to say that you have permission to try and recapture the childhood that you may have missed out on because people were pushing you toward maturity there. But I was kind of out of pocket, it would seem, because the reading kind of claimed that you're having unhealthy results because you're kind of stuck in a childlike state. I don't know if that's because maybe you're trying to make up for lost time or because they pushed you too hard one way, you're starting to go the other. Maybe not necessarily out of rebellion, but just this natural tendency to capture that youth that you were kind of supposed to have there. So that being said, a little bit of humility on my end, kind of admit like I was totally wrong in thinking that that's where this was leading. Hey, you have permission to be childlike in that respect because you're too adult, and I was wrong if the breakdown applies. So interesting aspect there. Now, I certainly didn't see a Peter Pan aspect coming up into it or baked into it. But thinking by and large, you had to be forced to grow up early and be resigned to maybe needing more playtime. That's where I was coming from with it. Let's see here. The book, yet again, doesn't fail to surprise in that particular regard. Sometimes they pull the rug out from underneath me. I kind of have some preconceptions going in because I put the notes together chronologically, kind of as I'm going down. So sometimes I'll start formulating an idea, and then boom, I find out I'm totally wrong with it. So I hope that kind of helps surprise things. That having been said, I had to take the notes off the page and into the book. So what else did I have to write here? Of particular note, January 18, the day of childlike fancy, is a person who ostensibly embraces their childlike wonder or childlike fancy there, and writ large, it just bleeds into their whole life there. That's the theme for them, right? Even if they don't necessarily know it, too, to some extent, from what I recall. Now, there's no mention of the Peter Pan dynamic there, however, very interestingly. And not to say it doesn't apply to them, it just it doesn't get mentioned. And on a day that's so specifically themed that way, I found it interesting for yours that I didn't really think it was themed that way, but, because it had a little bit more different aspects to that element. But they gave you the Peter Pan dynamic, so I thought it was interesting to note that that you got it and they didn't. Because it would seem so much more aptly applied to them, I think is what I'm trying to say. Any event, that's been your birthday breakdown, so let's dive in with your numbers and your planets. All right, those born on the 27th of the month are ruled by the number 9, as 2 plus 7 equals 9, and by the planet Mars. Now, the number 9 is powerful in its influence on other numbers, as any number added to 9 yields that number. E.g., 5 plus 9 equals 14, and 1 plus 4 equals 5. And any number multiplied by 9 yields a 9. So 9 times 5 is 45, 4 plus 5 is 9. Let's see here. Why did they mention this here? Because you're influential on other people as well. I don't think they wrote that here. The planet Mars is forceful and aggressive, and number 9 people thus have the capacity to envelop situations. And this combination of Mars and Uranus, which is the ruler of Aquarius, can indicate marked mental abilities, but leave January 27th people cool or unemotional most of the time, with periodic and often childish outbursts. All right, very interesting there. This was a highly specific and personalized number entry, even though the aspect where they kind of talked about the maths was copy paste. And what's interesting is they didn't get to the point of why they put that in there, because it says you're influential with other people when this comes up. So interesting that they forgot that part, important facet. So here, what I have to say. The number 9 in the planet Mars for an influential power over others, all right? And what I like to call God of War like energy, to say your forceful and aggressive nature. Said to give you the capacity to envelop situations. That's a new one. I haven't seen this come up for this before. And with Uranus combined influence, marked mental abilities, all right? But a cool and an emotional nature. I think that's new too for Mars. Usually this is said of Saturn to some extent, cool and detached, even though on the inside they're rather warm-hearted. Not of Mars or Uranus. But the so-called childish outbursts, well, not something I think I've seen come up before in this particular part of the entry. Specifically with Mars, I don't believe. It totally speaks to the erratic and explosive nature that's said to be imparted by Uranus. And I can see once that's coupled to Mars with aggressive energy, that might be how it's realized. Having said that, I would have thought, considering how high speed everything is said to be for you, that you may have been ruled by the planet Mercury. That's where my mind first went when they came up with all this speedy stuff, because Mercury's the speedy planet, mentalness and quickness of thought. But not the case at all. So once again, I was kind of at a stark loss for my preconceptions there. So what else do we have to say? I would say it makes sense that it isn't, because it kind of sounded like, and this isn't a knock, but you weren't quite up to the task with all the speediness. It was kind of something that held you back or presented you with frustrations there. And the Mercury folks, I don't want to say they're able to handle it, but it gives me the impression that they are, because things are just always changing for them and they're up for it, kind of thing. Though such speed had negative connotations for you, so it makes sense that it isn't, like I said. However, I'm not saying there's any connection, but the last Mars day, in fact, January 18th, like we said, the day of childlike wonder, was also a Mars day, and this childlike aspect here hasn't come up since. Interestingly, I don't know where the dynamic happens, or if perhaps the fact that Uranus is coupled to Mars, that's the only common denominator I can come up with that adds in this childlike facet. Shaking up the adulthood, perhaps, or the maturity aspect. I can't help but think that there's some kind of connection there, because like I said, all the days that came between the two of you, nothing like that was mentioned. So it's just very ironic that the day we talked about the Peter Pan syndrome, it just so happens to focus so much so with Mars as well. So that having been said, those are your numbers and your planets. I kind of got a little off track there and got redundant, but hey, hopefully you took some value from it. So we can then move on to your tarot card. That's right, your tarot card. One of the more eclectic of the New Age metaphysical ideologies, if you like. But hey, we don't have to take it home with us to start dealing them out to predict our future or however they're used. We can just leave it in a book and move on. Sometimes we can make even further connections. So let's see what we see here. The 9th card of the major arcana is the Hermit, who is usually depicted walking with a lantern and a stick. It represents meditation, isolation, and quietude. And the Hermit also signifies crystallized wisdom and ultimate discipline. The Hermit is a taskmaster who motivates by conscience and guides others on their path. The positive indications of this card are stick-to-itiveness, purpose, profundity, and concentration. Negative qualities include dogmatism, intolerance, mistrust, and discouragement. In January 27 people, the negative characteristics are a warning to those who would hold on to past accomplishments and fail to mature. All right. This one, they personalized for you a little bit. That might not seem like much of a thing, but they rarely do that. Most of the time, if they personalize the numbers and planets, The tarot doesn't get any kind of concern in that regard. So interesting, they gave you a little bit of a personalization. So what I have to say here, the Hermit, representing meditation, quietude, crystallized wisdom, and discipline. The Taskmaster, who guides others on their path for stick-to-itiveness, purpose, and profundity, which means great insights and concentration. But negatives of intolerance, mistrust, and discouragement, to kind of rehash everything there for you. All of these aspects are something I can see applying to this day, assuming the breakdown applies. An intrinsic talent that can be cultivated and then taught to others with a discipline, etc. But said same aspects can also take you off your path if you don't find a balance, right? Also, not forgetting the book's advice to keep your eye on the path ahead. I think they mentioned in the breakdown there. So interesting, staying on your path, providing something for others, because I think they said early on in the breakdown you might gravitate towards helping others learn the same things that you were apt to take on in your childhood there, or just work with youth. And I would say that's guiding others on their path. They did warn of what do you call it, dogmatism or intolerance, to say like maybe not accepting other people's ideas or advancing your own, almost as if they were a religion, say. It's that precious to you, and then you're trying to get others to follow suit. It's just a maturity type thing, getting over that, letting things be what they are kind of thing. So I would say this card, by and large, speaks to you, the breakdown quite nicely. So that having been said, a little redundant there of a rehash, but that's what, hopefully you took some value from that too. So that's been your tarot. Let's move on to your health. Okay, your health. Those born on January 27 may be prone to various childhood maladies, some of which can spell lasting difficulties into their adult life. Therefore, parents who have children born on this day must take special care to treat their illnesses swiftly and intelligently. Later in life, January 27 people are particularly prone to difficulties with their nervous and circulatory systems, which may in fact be related to each other. Keeping themselves in good shape with a sensible, down-to-earth, varied diet, and seeing that they get proper dietary supplements is a great help. In addition, regular physical exercise in the open air is essential whenever possible. Okay, very interesting, unique health breakdown here for you today. They say you're prone to childhood maladies. A little psychological element there, it would seem, and might be to be expected if there's baked-in challenges with your childhood, albeit they're probably not actually small. All right, it's probably a huge issue there. Nervous and circulatory issues in life may be associated, they said. Circulatory system is a Aquarius body area, so take aims to avoid issues with, say, stroke or embolism, those kinds of things. Varicose veins came up one particular day. And interestingly, with Capricorn, the period that preceded Aquarius, their body area was the veins, so not too disassociated. And they were always recommended to kind of take on a diet that cut out cholesterol, to say dairy fats and animal fats. Didn't really mention that here outside of proper supplements and such. The ankles and the lower legs are also an Aquarius body area, so supplements, maybe a calcium to help with your bone strength, glucosamine, chondroitin for your joints there, perhaps, your ankles if they get sore. I don't know, just kind of reach in there in the dark. What else do I have to say here? Down-to-earth diet, though, outside of all that, and moderate, regular exercise is mentioned. A pretty non-specific health entry outside of that, however, so for whatever particular reason. Some days they're very specific about a lot of things. Mars day of a vigorous, competitive exercise. I don't think Mars days often get vigorous and competitive exercise, ostensibly to excise their god of war energy. And they didn't mention that here for you. And I would say maybe because if you drill down into that, you might get a little too out of control. Or maybe Uranus's effect, you get enough of that out of control aspect there, so we don't need to further endorse as much. And they also mentioned getting outside in the open air. That's oftentimes a recommendation for some of the planets for folks who kind of have their head up in the clouds, so kind of sort of bring them back down to earth. So I don't know if that I got that so much for you, maybe with the childlike nature, I don't know, but based on the planets and such, Uranus must really be shaking up and electrifying things if they're bringing that much dynamic change to Mars, interestingly enough. Because the planets is where I tend to kind of drill down on where they're picking up the common denominators in the health. So a little bit of a disconnect there, and they really didn't provide much context on things. So hopefully I gave you a little bit of stuff to think about to that end. But yeah, as far as the circulatory system's concerned, I've been saying make sure you get yourself a pair of compression socks. That's right. It's the only way I can think to avoid the stroke. That's if you want to lend any credence to all of that. What else do we have here? Oh yeah, finding balance with the open air, stay grounded, down to earth. All stuff we've heard before. So that having been said, that's been your health. So let's move on to some advice. All right, some advice. Growing up should not be viewed as disaster or punishment. Accept the inevitable responsibilities as rewards of maturation. Is that a word? Maturation? All right. Let go of your fear and gain a respect and understanding of aging. All right. I would say some pretty valuable advice there. It oftentimes is, even though they get into it real sparse. There's not much to be had of it. All right, what did they say? And then what did I have to say about it? Growing up not to be viewed as a punishment. Let's see, what did I say? Though one could see why you might take issue with that. All right, ostensibly being thrown into it too early and then racing toward an unseen end ever since you were brought up there in your childhood. So yeah, maybe it is a little bit of a punishment to have to accept on all this responsibility there. It feels like it anyhow. They also said accept rather responsibilities and rewards that come with maturity. Easier said than maturation. Find the positives that come with such dynamics, I would say. All right, synthesize what you find maybe ostensibly magical about those aspects in your life. For a whole new dynamic, perhaps. I like to say, try to make a game out of such things if that's what it takes to get you to do it. But yeah, find that balance, whatever it takes. You might have to just change the way you view those adult things in order to rally toward accepting them into your life on some level that doesn't stress you out or turn you into a zombie. People start talking about refinancing a home and I'm out. I can't understand it at all because my brain just like seemingly won't let me. So maybe one day I'll try to make a game out of understanding how to refinance a home, even though I don't necessarily need to do that at this point in time. All right, what else did they have to say here? Let go of fear and find an understanding. Maybe that's the ultimate root of the problem. All right, the adult things are seen as things to avoid and largely negative. All right, baked in early on for you, perhaps, but they just are what they are. All right, and may not nearly be as intimidating as they seem if you just maybe throw yourself into them to that end. Much like, say, trying to take on a brake job for the first time or an oil change. It may seem very intimidating because you don't want to break anything, but you also don't want to spend $400 at the Jiffy Lube or wherever you go to get your brakes changed. So you know what? You dive in and you start taking off the calipers and the brake pads, or maybe the drums and the shoes. Those ones are a little intimidating for sure. You got to stretch the springs and use the specific tool to get the things locked in. Hey, understand the brake drums, but the calipers, you can dive into it. And I would say that's the same with certain adult things, paying your bills versus trying to figure out how to refinance your home, say. The brake drums of the adult world, if you like. In any event, that's what I'd say about your advice. So let's move on to your meditation. All right, your meditation. It's your birthday. You get something to reflect on, if you like. Youth is becoming let's start over here. Youth is becoming to a younger person, age to an older one. Well, I got to say this again. I'm not sure I can wrap my head around it. Youth is becoming to a younger person, age to an older one. All right. I don't know what to make of that because I felt like I was misreading it, but I wasn't. That sounds like a Zen koan, and maybe that is the most meditative meditation I've come across this far. Once again, youth is becoming to a younger person, age to an older one. Still don't know what to make of it, but hey, you know what? It's not my birthday, it's yours. So it's your meditation. And even if I had some kind of interpretation or spin on it, I wouldn't tell you because then it wouldn't do you any good. It would defeat the purpose. But that having said, you know what? Maybe your life is about accepting maturity. Oh, maybe it's hard time to try and accept something that's hard to get one's mind wrapped around. That's right. Find that enlightenment once you figure out what it means to you. Find the middle way, as the Zen Buddhists kind of takes on, or at least the Buddha said that anyway, I believe, to some extent. So anyway, that's been your meditation. Let's move on to your strengths and your weaknesses. That's right. Let's hold up the objective mirror and see where you got the strength and where you otherwise, well, maybe a little more atrophied, if you like. That's right. Your strengths and your weaknesses. Your strengths, you're bright, you're quick, and you're childlike. All right. All right, I was picking up that this might be a weakness as we were reading it, as they were conveying this childlike nature. I was like, man, they're making it seem rather negative for this individual. But here it's a strength, they say. Interesting. All right, but your weaknesses. Oh, let's hold back up that objective mirror, but flip it to the side that blows up your face. That's right. Maybe shows off the things you're superficially, what do you call it? Superficially insecure about here in your adult life. Maybe something like the pock marks on your face when you was a child. Picking your chicken pox scabs, even though your parents told you not to. But it was something you were tired of hearing. Quit telling me what to do. But they're like, it's going to carry through with you, much like your violin lessons. I don't want to hear it. And now you got the pock marks. Just you get the point. Your weaknesses. All right. You're childish. There it is. There it is. You're childish, impatient, and immature. Interesting. There's a difference between childlike and childish. All right. Churlish, maybe. Oh, that's actually a word, not just a joke. Churlish. Look that one up. Maybe not saying it applies, but churlish. All right. So your strengths, bright, quick, childlike. I know what. There's a certain innocence baked into that. It sounds a lot like play. And I would say that's a huge strength because if you can play with things, boom, they're going to turn them into a game. You're going to have fun. You're going to chase after them with joy, I would say. Weaknesses, though, childish, impatient, immature rather, those all kind of sound the same too, I would argue. Just different words saying the same thing. So the childlike fancy can get out of hand, if you like. There can be drawbacks to it. That having been said, I often make the case, and I don't know that I have a leg to stand on today, that our weaknesses can be strengths just depending upon the situation. Here, I don't know, childish, impatient, and immature. Maybe if you're trying to get out of something, say like a bad relationship, but that person just won't let you go. Hey, drill down on these things. Maybe they will let you go. It's a strength or a tool to turn that into a game, I would say. Though not one I would necessarily lean into. But I'm reaching for an example to say these things are a strength. Or maybe you're trying to get out of a job you hate. You're trying to get them to let you go. There you go. Start acting mature on the factory line there. Letting things go down chutes they're not supposed to. Off into acid baths when they're supposed to get a chrome finish. I don't know. I'm just kind of reaching into the air here. But that having been said, I often like to say if you need to improve upon your weaknesses, your strengths are going to help you do it. Here, if you're bright, quick, and childlike, hey, you've got the intelligence, you're quick enough to savvy how to maybe find a way to improve upon those things. And with the childlike nature, you're going to make it into a game, find something to enjoy about doing as much, I would say. But having said all of that, I also like to argue, don't get rid of your weaknesses altogether because deep down, they kind of make us who we are, all right? Even if you're a little bit childish, yeah, you know what? People can, oh, that's just so-and-so, and it's kind of who you are there. You get rid of that altogether, like, man, you're not like you used to be. I don't know if they're saying that in negative or positive, but, it changes who you are. So, again, don't abandon it completely is all I'm trying to say. But that having been said, your strengths and your weaknesses having been relayed, let's move on to those born on this day. When we get into those born on this day, not only do we get to see who shares your company and what they did, I like to focus on approaching as much through the prism of figuring out our passions. Because too often in life, I get out in the world and meet individuals, ask them what they do, and more importantly, if they like it, and they don't. Because I think it's just that they haven't had the opportunity to put in the time to figure such things out. It takes work a lot of times. Maybe we like to do this thing, but hey, there's no way to make money at that. So you've got to put time in to figure out how to segue that into something that brings in some income if you're trying to make money for you. Other times we just don't know what we like to do. Again, it takes time to figure those things out. And so I think this is the perfect opportunity not only to see who shares your company, but to see what they did to get it in the book. And maybe it can stand to serve some kind of inspiration for us. I know it's a big ass hard sell to take inspiration from other people's accomplishments, but you know what? Hey, maybe me just putting the bug in your ear about it help you stir up the fires there. Because if there's anything I can wish for you on your birthday, it's that you're chasing after something that you're eager to jump out of bed in the morning and do, and that you get personal fulfillment from. Because we're only here for so long, so we might as well be getting some fulfillment out of life. With that said, if you already have a passion, well then, hey, the hat I'm not wearing is off to you, all right? Maybe now you just put into work to figure out how to make it viable, or if you do that already too, just enjoy who shares your company. Let's dive into it here. Wolfgang Amadeus Mozart, the Austrian master instrumentalist, opera composer, violinist, pianist, and most musically talented child prodigy of all time, died at the age of 35. Interesting, I didn't know. I thought the piano came well after him, and he was on the harpsichord there. I don't know. I'm not very well, educated on the subject. I just seem to remember that. Anyway, moving on, we have Lewis Carroll, Charles Dodgson, British mathematician, logician, writer of Alice in Wonderland. So I wonder if Lewis Carroll was a pen name, and his real name was Charles Dodgson. I don't know. Any events. Moving on from Lewis Carroll or Charles Dodgson, Bobby Hutcherson, a jazz vibraphonist and a marimba player. I think that's the first one we've had today. There you go. Or not today. Well, today, sure, but in the book here, period. John Ogden, a British prodigy pianist. Bobby Blue Bland. Oh, it's always the blues and the jazz singers who have the interesting names. A blues singer and a songwriter. Elmore James, a blues singer and a guitarist. We also have Hot Lips Page, the jazz trumpeter and a singer. We also have Samuel Gompers, a British-born U.S. labor leader, founder, and president of the AFL. We have Hyman Rickover, a U.S. Navy nuclear submarine admiral. All right. I wonder what his childlike wonder was. Playing with stuff in the tub, maybe? These one to wonder. We have Ingrid Thulin, a Swedish film actress, and of the Bergman Group. And we also have Ilya Ehrenberg, Soviet Jewish dissident writer and a novelist of The Love of Janine Ney. We also have Edith Cresson, a French prime minister and forced to resign. Wilhelm II, a German Kaiser and the last German emperor, was abdicated and he spent his exile in Holland. We also have Skitch Henderson, a TV band leader. Felix Candela, a Mexican engineer and an architect. Jean-Philippe Collard, French pianist. William Randolph Hearst, how about that? He was a publisher. Donna Reed, film actress. Eduard Lalo, French composer, and Yusuf Israels. There's a macron over the, not a macron, the two dots there over the E, so I'm not sure if it's Israel's or not. 19th, 20th century, a Dutch painter. I dare say, very interesting smorgasbord of individuals, the whole gamut of different interests and such. Even a nuclear submarine admiral, that's a first also. And the marimba player, hey, smorgasbord, like I said. So there has to be something you take inspiration from. One would hope, anyhow. I think, like I said, I know it's a big-ass tall order to that end, but maybe just putting the bug in your ear about it helps stir up the fires. Because like I said, I just wish it for you on your birthdays. getting after chasing down your passions, finding something fulfilling in life. That said, I think I butchered a name or two, so let's make up for it on my side of things. Not done in malice, just hooked on phonics. Doesn't always work with me with the names. But that having been said, that has been those born on this day, which essentially rounds out your birthday reading. Except to say, your season is winter, your sign once again is Aquarius, of the Aquarius 1 period specifically, and your quality and elements is fixed air. What does that mean? Well, that's a different video altogether, so I'll leave that at the end if you're interested. But this has been January 27th, the day of precocity, if that's how it's said, or precocity, I don't know. From The Secret Language of Birthdays by Gary Goldschneider and Joost Elfers. I have an affiliate link for this book down in the description. If you're interested in picking up your own copy, diving in for yourself, listen, this thing makes an excellent coffee table book, and it's something to break out at a party if you're looking to get the ice broken in a dynamic, interesting way. And it's not always going to be for the better. That's right. Today, say you broke that out for somebody different today. Your birthday might be taken to say, oh, that's a little negative, blah, blah, blah. Well, you know what? You got the conversation started. That book served its purpose, I would say. So look at it from that angle if you need a tool for such things or just for your own personal edification. It's going to serve that well. That having been said, the book not altogether all too important. What's important around here, like I said at the top, wishing you a happy birthday. So once again, happy birthday. That's right. But for everybody else who joined us randomly or to celebrate the birthday, the January 27th birthday, I just want to say I hope you enjoyed yourselves and you join us for your birthday read. That's right. But lest I forget, that's right, your daily numbers. If that's why you're here and you just stuck around out of curiosity, nice to hear. But these are your numbers I rolled for you today. You're 3 and you're 6 for a 9. Get out there. Let the universe show you it's with you on your path. See, taste, touch, feel, smell, a little bit of the magic. Stack up some coincidences or some synchronicities. Like I said, you'll understand why I brought it up for you. And they said you need to get out in the open air for that exercise to bring yourself back down to base, and you're gonna reap the dividends there, it said. Though they didn't say that in so many words, but you get the point. That having been said, once again, happy birthday, and don't forget to pick up a pair of compression socks while you're out there. Got to take care of them veins and ankles. That's right. All right, once more, happy birthday. Take care of yourself.